The dark side of the Force has always promised power to those willing to embrace it. Across both Canon and Legends, 7 Sith stand out not for their strength alone, but for what their power revealed. Each level of mastery exposed new limits that demanded to be overcome. The Sith understood this in ways the Jedi never could. Their history is written not in philosophy, but in the lives of those who pushed beyond what others thought possible, only to discover that what they gained was never quite enough. The path begins with those who served the dark side, but were never granted its title. Asajj Ventress was one of the Clone Wars' most dangerous assassins, yet she was never a true Sith. She could match Jedi Masters in single combat, slip into Republic facilities using stealth and deception, and command Separatist forces when needed. She combined twin lightsabers with lethal precision, mixing Night Sister magic with dark side techniques. Her fighting style blended the aggression of Form 5 with the chaos of Night Sister sorcery, creating combinations the Jedi hadn't trained to counter. In canon continuity, the animated series The Clone Wars establishes her as Count Dooku's most trusted operative during the war, hunting Jedi across the galaxy. She was a dark side assassin, trained by Dooku, but never granted the title of apprentice. The Sith operate under the rule of 2, one master and one apprentice, and Dooku already served Darth Sidious. Ventress was a tool, expendable the moment she became inconvenient. Season 3, Episode 12, Night Sisters, shows that when Sidious senses her growing power during a battle in the Solus system, he orders Dooku to eliminate her. The Count abandons her mid-battle, commanding his fleet to fire on the command ship where she fights alongside Anakin and Obi-Wan. She survives, but the betrayal exposes the truth about her power. When the Night Sisters of Dathomir take her in and heal her wounds, she strikes back at Dooku using magic-enhanced invisibility and poison, nearly killing him in his castle on Sereno. Despite her skill, she fails because tools, no matter how sharp, eventually break when used against their makers. Ventress's abilities were real, but they had always belonged to someone else. She drew on the dark side with skill and precision, never for her own purpose. A dark side warrior operating outside the Sith hierarchy, powerful, but never granted true status or autonomy. The Sith were never satisfied with tools. They needed something raw, something that could sustain itself through pure will, even when everything else was taken away. One apprentice embodied that hunger. Darth Maul fought with pure hatred made physical. His acrobatic combat style turned lightsaber dueling into overwhelming aggression, using his double-bladed saber to attack from multiple angles at once. During the Battle of Naboo, shown in the canon film The Phantom Menace, he engaged 2 Jedi Masters at the same time, striking down Qui-Gon Jinn before Obi-Wan Kenobi cut him in half and sent both pieces down a reactor shaft. By every measure, Maul should have died. His body was destroyed, and his connection to his master was severed. Yet that hatred wouldn't let him die. Canon sources pick up his story over a decade later in The Clone Wars, Season 4, Episode 21, Brothers. That hatred kept him conscious as he fell thousands of meters down the reactor shaft. It held his organs together as his broken body crashed into the junk world of Lothal Minor, a planet of endless refuse where scavengers picked through mountains of discarded machinery. His shattered mind, struggling to maintain consciousness through agony that should have killed him instantly, began cannibalizing droid parts scattered across the wasteland. He fashioned crude mechanical legs from whatever salvage he could reach, transforming himself into a spider-like creature that dragged his torso through the tunnels beneath the junk heaps. For over a decade, Maul existed in those tunnels, his mind fractured, his memories fragmented into broken loops of hatred and pain. He built a lair from wreckage and lived like an animal, surviving on vermin and the occasional unlucky scavenger who ventured too deep. His connection to the Force remained, twisted and raw, feeding on his rage, while offering nothing in return but the strength to endure another day of madness. When Savage Opress finally found him, Maul was barely sentient. He muttered broken phrases about fear, hunting, filth, and worthlessness, his mind unable to form coherent thoughts. The power that kept him alive also destroyed his sanity. Mother Talzin's magic eventually gave him new legs and restored his mind enough to function, but the damage ran deeper than missing limbs. While canon establishes Maul's survival through hatred alone, the Legends novel The Wrath of Darth Maul reveals how Sidious shaped this weapon from childhood. Chapter 1 describes Maul raised on Mustafar in isolation, subjected to harsh training that turned a boy into an instrument of pure rage. Unlike Ventress, who'd known Jedi training before falling to darkness, Maul knew nothing but the dark side from the beginning. He wasn't meant to think or question. He was meant to hate, to hunt, to kill. Maul had become exactly what Sidious intended, a being whose entire existence revolved around hatred. That single-minded focus also limited him. He could survive through rage alone, but he couldn't build anything with it. When he briefly seized control of Mandalore in the Clone Wars Season 5, Episode 16, The Lawless, Sidious himself arrived to crush those ambitions, reminding Maul that he was just an apprentice, not a true master. The Sith needed more than survival through emotion. They needed power that could reshape the galaxy, even if that power came with restraints. That power emerged in the Chosen One himself. Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader with raw force potential that exceeded almost anyone in galactic history. The canon film Revenge of the Sith shows the transformation after his defeat on Mustafar, but the Legends novel, Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader, reveals what the armor cost him and what remained. Where canon leaves Vader's limitations implied, Legends sources provide the devastating technical details. Vader's power in the Force remained staggering despite his injuries. He could choke admirals across vast distances without physical contact, reaching through hyperspace itself to crush windpipes on distant Star Destroyers, hunting Jedi survivors who thought they'd hidden beyond his reach. In combat, he tore through squads of soldiers with brutal efficiency, his crimson blade cutting through blaster fire and flesh with equal ease. The Legends novel Lords of the Sith describes how he could manipulate entire battlefields through the Force, projecting waves of fear that drove enemy soldiers to panic and flee. When he boarded rebel vessels, his presence in the Force preceded him like a wave of darkness, announcing his arrival before he even ignited his lightsaber. His rage fueled strength that made him the Empire's ultimate enforcer. When he arrived on a world, resistance collapsed. When he boarded a ship, crews surrendered rather than face him. Yet the suit that saved his life became his prison. Chapter 2 of Dark Lord: The Rise of Darth Vader describes the respirator connecting directly to his damaged lungs through tubes entering his throat. A cable from his chest control box regulated his heartbeat and maintained the pressurized environment his ruined body required. The medical droids had used inferior alloys for his prosthetic legs and failed to properly inspect the strips that protected the electromotive lines. The suit didn't just limit Vader's mobility, it severed him from abilities he'd once taken for granted. He needed a hyperbaric chamber just to remove his mask. In his meditation chamber, where he could briefly exist without the suit, he felt the Force more clearly than when trapped in the armor. The Emperor had designed it that way, whether through intention or negligence. Either way, Vader was powerful enough to destroy any threat to the Empire, but limited enough to never challenge his master. That kind of power solved one problem and created another. Physical constraints were just one prison. Every Sith discovered that pure devotion to the dark side created its own limits. Rage destroyed sanity. Hunger consumed everything. Power demanded constant sacrifice. Some tried to escape this trap entirely by walking both paths at once, believing balance between light and dark would succeed where pure darkness failed. One such warrior became a legend. Revan exists entirely in Legends continuity, found in the video game Knights of the Old Republic and the novel The Old Republic, Revan. He represented something the galaxy had rarely seen, a Sith Lord who mastered both sides of the Force without being consumed by either. As a military strategist, Revan defeated the Mandalorian crusade that had conquered world after world while the Republic hesitated. He saw through the Mandalorians' seemingly chaotic attacks and recognized the calculated pattern behind them. At the Battle of Malachor V, he commanded the use of the Mass Shadow Generator, an experimental superweapon that would draw upon gravitational anomalies to destroy every ship in orbit. His general, Mitra Surik, gave the order to activate it, crushing the Mandalorian fleet in a single devastating strike. The weapon won the war, but shattered countless lives in the process, killing thousands of Republic soldiers along with the enemy. The Jedi who followed him into battle learned warfare under his command, becoming hardened soldiers rather than peacekeepers. As a duelist, he could face multiple Jedi at once and emerge victorious, his lightsaber technique blending multiple forms into something uniquely his own. As a Force user, he drew on both light and dark side abilities with equal skill, using rage when needed, but tempering it with Jedi discipline. When he turned to the dark side and claimed the Star Forge, an ancient Rakatan space station that could manufacture entire fleets using the Force, he commanded armies that brought the Republic to its knees. The Star Forge fed on the dark side, converting stellar matter into ships and weapons at a pace no conventional shipyard could match. Revan used it to build an armada that overwhelmed Republic defenses, conquering system after system with strategic precision that made every victory seem inevitable. His power came from refusing to limit himself. Where other Sith burned with pure hatred, Revan blended rage with tactical precision. That balance became his fatal weakness. Malak betrayed him during a Jedi ambush, leaving him for dead. The Jedi Council erased Revan's memories and rebuilt his identity as a weapon against Malak. When Revan eventually destroyed both Malak and the Star Forge, he found himself caught between two lives. Chapter 1 of the novel Revan describes the nightmares that started years later, fragmented visions of a greater threat. On Nathema, he found a dead world, completely lifeless in the Force. Every living being had been consumed by a Sith Lord named Vitiate over 1,000 years earlier. Revan realized he'd been compromised by this ancient Sith Emperor, manipulated into attacking the Republic as part of a larger plan. He traveled to confront Vitiate before the Emperor could launch a full-scale invasion. Chapter 6 shows Revan's attempt fails. The Emperor was too powerful, sustained by centuries of dark side rituals. The Sith Lord's Scourge betrayed Revan at the crucial moment, recognizing the Emperor couldn't be defeated through direct confrontation. Vitiate imprisoned Revan, keeping him alive for 3 centuries to drain information from his mind. Revan's division between light and dark had made him powerful. Against an opponent who'd abandoned all restraint, who'd consumed entire worlds to fuel his power, Revan's careful balance was not enough. The Sith didn't want balance. One Sith achieved domination that reshaped the entire galaxy. Darth Sidious commanded power that went beyond raw force ability. Canon sources from the film saga show his rise to Emperor through political manipulation, while Legends sources reveal how he learned to weaponize an entire government and challenge the Force itself. As Palpatine, he organized the Trade Federation's blockade of his homeworld, Naboo. He maneuvered himself into the position of Supreme Chancellor. He spent years dismantling the Republic from within. He manipulated the Clone Wars into existence. He engineered Order 66 to eliminate the Jedi. He transformed a 1,000-year-old democracy into the Galactic Empire with himself as its absolute ruler. He did it all while appearing as a kindly politician, a guardian of democracy who reluctantly accepted emergency powers. Where canon establishes Sidious's political genius, the Legends novel Darth Plagueis expands on his Force mastery in ways canon sources only hint at. For years, Plagueis conducted experiments in the manipulation of midichlorians, attempting to influence them to create life, or extend it indefinitely. He worked in isolation, driven by an obsession that bordered on madness, while Sidious learned the depths of Sith sorcery at his side. The novel describes how Plagueis studied the organelles as they functioned in living beings, seeking to bend them to his will and unlock the secret to immortality that had eluded every Sith before him. Sidious absorbed these lessons while secretly plotting his master's end. The night he became Chancellor, he killed Plagueis in his sleep. In that moment, the Force shifted. The foresight that once came easily to Jedi Masters now arrived clouded and uncertain. The Jedi could no longer sense the future clearly. They were blind, and Sidious had become the galaxy's hidden master. Proving the Rule of Two's core principle, the apprentice must surpass and destroy the master. When he faced Yoda in the Senate chamber and held his own against the Order's most powerful master, he demonstrated that his political cunning was matched by raw force power. For all his victories, he remained mortal, his body aging while the Rebel Alliance persisted despite his efforts. When Luke Skywalker refused him, and he was thrown down a reactor shaft aboard the second Death Star, even his return through clone bodies proved the limitation. He was still bound to the physical galaxy, still dependent on vessels and technology and subordinates who might fail or betray him. Political power, no matter how total, couldn't overcome the basic constraint of existence itself. The Sith had always wanted more than rulership. They wanted to rise above the limits that made them vulnerable. Some achieved this by becoming something other than alive. Darth Nihilus didn't fight with lightsabers or force lightning. He consumed life itself. Operating entirely within Legends continuity, the reference book The Old Republic Encyclopedia describes what happened on the Mura-Luca colony of Qatar. The Jedi Order had called a secret conclave there, gathering thousands of Jedi across the galaxy to discuss the Sith threat. They believed they were hidden, protected by the Force and the remote location of the colony. However, they were wrong. When Nihilus arrived in orbit aboard the Ravager, he didn't deploy troops or bombard the surface. He simply reached out through the Force and fed. Every living being on Qatar died in moments. Not killed, but consumed. The planet became a mass grave, thousands of corpses lying where they'd fallen, their deaths so sudden they hadn't even time to react. He existed as a wound in the Force itself, a living void that hungered for Force energy the way a black hole hungered for matter. His power operated on a level that conventional Sith abilities couldn't match. The video game Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, establishes his origin during the destruction of Malachor V. The mass shadow generator ripped a wound in the Force, killing almost everyone instantly. Nihilus survived, but the experience transformed him into something never seen before. His body deteriorated until nothing remained but consciousness bound to armor and mask through Sith sorcery. The mask became his identity, the expressionless face that looked out as worlds died. Nihilus's power was absolute in its specific domain. However, it came with a terrible price. He couldn't communicate normally, his language becoming incomprehensible except to his apprentice, Visas Mar. He couldn't interact with the galaxy except through consumption, and every world he fed on left him stronger but no more satisfied. The hunger grew with every meal, demanding more until nothing less than draining the Force from the entire galaxy would be enough. When his apprentice turned against him and brought the Jedi exile Mitra Surik to confront him, Nihilus discovered his power was useless against her. Surik was a wound in the Force like him, already empty and cut off. He tried to drain her and found nothing to consume, his hunger becoming his downfall. His power could reshape worlds and murder thousands with a thought, yet it couldn't satisfy the void at his core. He'd proven that even becoming a force of nature had its limits. One Sith Lord had found a way to go further still, to consume worlds not out of uncontrollable hunger, but through deliberate choice. To extend his existence not for centuries, but for millennia. This was the final evolution of Sith power. The final Sith exists entirely within Legends continuity, documented in the reference book The Old Republic Encyclopedia and the video game Star Wars The Old Republic. On the planet Medrias, a boy named Tenebrae was born with such dark side power that even as a child, he could kill with a thought. By age 10, he killed his Sith Lord father. At 13, he conquered his entire homeworld and earned the title Lord Vitiate from Marka Ragnos, the ruler of all Sith. For the next 100 years, he remained on his homeworld, delving deeper into dark-side rituals and Sith sorcery, while the galaxy forgot about him. When the Sith Empire collapsed after the Great Hyperspace War, the now ancient Lord Vitiate emerged from his solitude. He summoned every surviving Sith Lord to his world, and 8,000 answered his call. He promised unity, strength, and a path forward that would ensure survival. They agreed to participate in a ritual that would bind them together, channeling their collective power toward a single purpose. What followed would change the galaxy forever. The ritual lasted 10 days. For the first 9 days, he bound the Sith Lords together in meditation, linking their minds and their power to his will. Darkside energy gathered around Medrias, visible from orbit as storm clouds that pulsed with red lightning. On the 8th day, several Sith Lords attempted to break free, sensing the trap Vitiate had laid. He crushed their resistance with contemptuous ease, binding them ever tighter to his will. By the 9th day, none of them could move without his permission, their wills completely subjugated. On the final day, the planet itself screamed as Vitiate consumed the life force of every Sith Lord, every living creature, every plant, every microorganism. The 8,000 Sith Lords died first, their screams cut short as their essence flowed into Vitiate, followed by every other living thing in a wave of death that spread across the planet's surface. Vitiate emerged as the only survivor, transformed into something beyond mortal as the energy extended his life indefinitely. He declared himself Sith Emperor and rebuilt the Empire in secret for 300 years, training warriors in hostile jungles on Dromund Kaas and constructing a massive fleet. When he launched a new war against the Republic, his forces brought the galaxy to its knees. Yet even ruling an empire wasn't enough. The video game The Old Republic reveals how Vitiate discovered the Eternal Fleet, an ancient armada of sentient droid ships. He built the Eternal Throne to reactivate and control them, then created a new identity in secret on Zakuul. He became Valkorion, the Immortal Emperor, who built a golden city and ruled a civilization that worshipped him as a living god. As Valkorion, his power exceeded even what he'd achieved as Vitiate. The Eternal Fleet crushed both the Republic and the reconstituted Sith Empire at once, blockading Coruscant and Dromund Kaas within months. He ruled Zakuul for over a century, providing its citizens with comfort while extracting tribute from every conquered world. The city he built rose in gleaming spires above the endless swamp, a monument to his vision of perfection. His subjects knew him as a benevolent ruler who gave them peace and prosperity, never suspecting the dark rituals that sustained his immortality, or the worlds he'd consumed to achieve it. The Eternal Throne took generations to construct and could only be operated by him or his children, the fleet responding to the throne and the throne responding only to Valkorion's bloodline. He had created an empire that could span galaxies, powered by technology that combined ancient Zakuulan engineering with Sith sorcery, controlled through the Force in ways that made conventional warfare obsolete. His ambition extended beyond conquest, as the rituals that sustained him required regular consumption of life force. With each feeding, his appetite grew. He'd lived for over 1,500 years, ruled empires, and consumed worlds, achieving every goal a Sith could imagine. None of it satisfied him. Even if he succeeded and consumed all life as he'd consumed Nathema, nothing would remain. He'd be immortal, but alone, with unlimited power and nothing to use it on. The Sith Emperor, who'd achieved functional immortality and ruled civilizations for over a millennium, had discovered the final truth. Even godhood brought no satisfaction. What the Sith built always consumed them in the end, leaving only the inevitability they'd tried so hard to escape.